equipotential surface, right? So what does an equipotential surface mean? It is a surface which has the same potential at every point, or the potential difference between any 2 points on that surface is 0, right? So then we saw how to draw the equipotential surface for an isolated charge. It can either be positive charge or negative charge. Right? Now, I just wanted to show a small simulation before I proceed to the other topic. See, I hope you're able to see the screen.
Yes, sir.
Now see, if I take an isolated positive charge and keep it here, look at the way the electric field is, right? So you're able to see the value of electric field. Now, if I take and keep the sensor here, you're able to see the value there. It is 5.242 volt, right? So if I keep it somewhere over here, then I can find another place where it is same 5.524 volt, right? Like this, I can find any number of points on the surface where the potential due to this positive charge is going to be the same. So if you join all those points, then those points are what are going to give you the shape of an equipotential surface, right? So this is the one I wanted to show you for electric field also. So I told you know how to find the direction of electric field. So the sensor is the test charge. So when you place a test charge at a particular location, you're able to see an arrow mark. This arrow mark shows the direction in which the force is experienced by it. Okay. If I bring it close, look at the size of the arrow mark. It becomes big because the electric field at that point is more. Whereas when I take it close, it is going to be less. So you're able to understand. So here, apart from equipotential surface, there is another important point also to be noted. Okay, we are going to try to find a relation between the equipotential surface and the direction of electric field also. Okay, so keeping all these points in mind, let's try to understand how the equipotential surface works for other kind of charge distributions. Okay, now see. So tell me one thing, is everyone clear with the same? Clear?
Sir, your voice is breaking, sir.
Yeah, sir, your voice is breaking.
Is it better now?
Yes,
Now
sir.
it's
Is it
fine.
better now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Tell me one thing, are you guys clear with what this equipotential surface means?
Yes, sir.
How we got this set concentric spheres? Yes. So,
Yes.
due to an isolated charge, according to the concept that we discussed in previous chapter, we know that the electric field lines due to a positive charge are away from it. Okay. Now, what will happen is, if I take this set, if I take this set of electric field lines and keep it here, what is that you're able to understand? So what is that you're able to understand? So this is how the equipotential surface is. And due to the positive charge, the electric field is away from it. So the electric field is placed at the center. The electric field lines act like the radius of that equipotential surface. Are they not acting like the radius of the equipotential surface? Like whatever equipotential surface you draw in this scenario. So from this case, we can understand one important point, that the electric field at every point is normal to the equipotential surface. Because we know that the radius is always perpendicular to the curve. When I say perpendicular to the curve, if you draw a tangent at this point, the radius is always perpendicular to the tangent drawn at any point on the curve. And this is a very, very important point to be noted. And there is a reason for it, why I'm saying. So, electric field is normal to the equipotential surface passing through that point. Okay. So, from this, in general, we can say for any charge configuration, equipotential surface through a point is normal to the electric field at that point. So, how is this point actually going to help us? How is this statement going to help us? Okay. This will help us to draw the equipotential surface for other kinds of charge distributions also. If suppose I have a set of parallel rays, if I have a set of parallel rays, then what kind of a surface is it?
Uniform electric field.
Uniform.
It is uniform electric field. So when I say uniform electric field, both the charges are, can I say that the charges are placed at infinity? There is a positive charge on the left of infinity and the negative charge on the right of infinity, because electric field is always directed from positive to negative terminal, right? So for this kind of a charge distribution, we know that the electric field are set of parallel rays. Then how is the equipotential surface going to be? Just now we saw an important concept. You need to draw a surface which is perpendicular to the electric field at every point. Means if this is going to be, if the finger is going to be the direction of electric field, then I need to draw a surface which is perpendicular to it, and that surface what you can choose is a plane surface. So the equipotential surface for uniform
equipotential surface will always be perpendicular to the electric field surface, sir.
Perpendicular to the electric field at that point.
Okay, sir.
If you know what is the direction of electric field at a particular point, at that point if you draw an equipotential surface, it will definitely be perpendicular to the electric field at that point. So the conclusion here is, if you have a set of uniform electric field lines, the equipotential surface that you can consider will be a plane surface. So it's a plane surface. Please make a note of this point.
Repeat, sir.
Sir, I have a doubt, sir.
Tell me what is it?
Sir, so can we conclude that any charge or any charge will always have infinite electropotential surface, equipotential surface, sir?
Is it? We are calling it an infinite because we will not be able to count how many are there. Okay, we don't know how they are going to be. Yes, that's right.
So, sir, but there'll be a distance between each equipotential surface.
It depends on how much distance and where you're trying to find the potential. See, every point on this surface, see, if I have a charge here, okay, if I have a charge here, if I take this surface, okay, or if I take a sphere, every point on the sphere is at the same distance from this charge. You're able to visualize it.
Yes.
So if I mark this distance as 1 centimeter, I can find the equipotential surface at 1.000000001 centimeter also. Because at that particular location, the electric potential due to this charge is going to be the same at every point. That will be another sphere.
Okay, sir.
So like this, if you keep on drawing, you can draw any number of surfaces. So that purely depends on your interest of study at what distance from the charge distribution. So that depends on, that's a problem specific question.
Okay, sir. I understand.
That's good. Okay. So this is the point noted. So for a uniform electric field A, say along the x-axis, the equipotential surfaces are planes normal to the x-axis. So a plane which is normal to the x-axis will be in the YZ plane. Okay, please make a note. This might be a 1 mark question. They'll put a question like this. There is a uniform electric field which is directed in the positive x-axis. The equipotential surface will be confined to which plane? The answer is YZ. If suppose the question is twisted like this, there is a uniform electric field which is directed along positive y direction. In which plane is the equipotential surface present? Answer.
XZ plane, sir.
Exactly, yes. So it is going to be XZ. So that is the meaning. You're able to understand? So like this, you can draw the equipotential surface for any kind of a charge distribution. So equipotential surfaces for a dipole. So how is going to, what is a dipole? It has a set of positive and negative charges. We saw one important point. So if I draw a line passing through these positive and negative charges, then this is going to be what? This is the axis of dipole, right? So yesterday I told you one important point. If I draw a plane, if I draw a line which is perpendicular to this, then this is going to be the equatorial axis. On the equatorial axis, what is the potential?
0.
0.
That is why if you see the shape, the way equipotential surfaces are present for a dipole, then this is how it is. Okay. This is the way the equipotential surface for a dipole is going to be. Similarly, the equipotential surface for two like charges will be in this way. I will explain the reason, okay? So, but you guys need to concentrate. How exactly I'm getting that, okay? Observe. So, if I take this as negative charge, this as positive charge, then the electric field due to this charge, if I take any particular point, okay, if I take any particular point, then the electric field due to the positive charge is in this direction. The electric field due to the negative charge is in this direction. So what will be the direction of electric field at this point? It will be closer to the one which is having greater magnitude. I hope this point is clear. Right.
Yes,
If I take a point here, if I take a point P here, if I take a point P dash here, then this is the direction of electric field. Then this is the direction of electric field due to the negative charge. So the resultant will again be in this direction. So how is the equipotential surface supposed to be? The equipotential surface will be perpendicular to the electric field. So if you take all the perpendiculars to the electric field and join those points, then what you will get is the shape you will get will be something like this. Okay, that is how they are drawn. But for a dipole, an important point is there is no potential present exactly at the center of them. So there is no potential present exactly at the center of them. Hence, there will be no equipotential surface. Whereas for a system of two positive charges, what will happen is the electric field, the equipotential surfaces will touch each other. Right? If this is negative, this is positive. So they are going to be like this. Right. So what will happen is there will be a particular instance where they are going to touch each other. After that, what will happen is they will overlap and it will form a system like this. Okay. So this
For
is
a
how,
dipole, sir.
no, this is for system of two positive charges. This is for a system of two like charges. This is not a dipole, no. Dipole means positive and negative charge. This is a dipole. This is system of two identical charges. It can either be two positive charges or two negative charges.
Okay, sir.
Okay, you have to memorize this. Okay, so I suggest you guys to draw it once. Okay. Shall I move on?
No, sir. Wait, sir.
Once you finish this, I have an important point to tell you. It is there in this page only. Is there anyone having doubt with how these surfaces have actually come?
Sir, for two positive charges, sir. How does it
positive
actually?
charges, what happens?
How does it attach, sir?
See, how does it attach means because, see, it's very simple. Positive charge, okay. I will take a mathematical value. Let me call this as Q and this also as Q. And let me say the distance of separation between them is 2a. Just because I wrote 2a, it is not a dipole. So exactly at the center, if this distance is going to be a and this distance is going to be a, if I take this as the first charge and this as the second charge, what is the potential due to the first charge at the center? It is Q divided by 4 pi epsilon naught a. What is the potential due to the second charge at the center? Q divided by 4 pi epsilon naught a. Correct?
Yes.
So what is the total potential at the center? It is 2Q divided by 4 pi epsilon naught a. Accepted?
Yes, sir.
Right. So what is happening? Is it getting cancelled or getting added?
Added.
That is why if you see, the electric field due to this positive charge will be in this direction. The electric field due to this positive charge will be in this direction. So if you draw a surface perpendicular to it, then this is how they are going to look like. And to make it more simple, what is going to happen is there will be a particular instance where the equipotential surfaces will touch each other. If you cross those points, what is going to happen? Then these two will overlap on each other, right? So one will overlap like this and the other will overlap like this, but this part will not exist. And that is the reason why it looks like this. Whereas for a dipole, what happens? Revisit the equipotential surface concept. Whereas for a dipole, exactly at the center, there is no potential.
Potential.
That is the reason why they are not touching.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So we told an important point. What is that? We told that at every point the equipotential surface is normal. Normal to the electric field lines, or the electric field lines are perpendicular to the equipotential surface. Right? Now we will understand why it is so. If this can be a question also, please mark it as important. Listen, if the electric field is like this, okay, and the equipotential surface is like this. Now, had they not been perpendicular to each other, let's say there is a test charge Q placed on the equipotential surface, then what is the force experienced by test charge? If I call this electric field as E, force experienced by test charge is how much? Q into E.
Yes, sir.
Right. So if I try to move any test charge on this particular surface, if I try to move a test charge on this equipotential surface, then what should be the potential energy? Is it not, if I take this point as A and this point as B, is it not Q into VB minus VA? Did you guys understand why I wrote Q into VB minus VA? This I have explained in the first class of this chapter. When I started this chapter, we did a problem. So whenever you want to calculate the work done is nothing but Q into V. This is also potential energy. So in the place of V, I wrote the potential difference VB minus VA. So it will be Q into, when it is an equipotential surface, VB and VA should be 0. So the change in the work done to move, this is another important question. What is the amount of work done to move a charge on an equipotential surface? The answer is 0. Why? Because the electric field and the, okay, it is because Q into delta V is going to be 0. That is the reason it is 0, right? So have this point in your mind. If the force is QE, when the electric field is perpendicular to the equipotential surface, can I say that the force is also perpendicular to equipotential surface? Yes or no?
Sir.
Yes.
Right. So displacement is in this direction. Displacement is in the tangential direction. Force is in the perpendicular direction. So what is the work done by electrostatic force? It is F into S into cos theta, where theta is the angle between force and displacement. F is QE, displacement is S, and it is cos 90. Answer is 0. And this is another way to prove why equipotential surface and electric field lines are always perpendicular to each other. That's what they would have given in this theory also. Read it. If the field were not normal to the equipotential surface, it would have a non-zero component of the surface. To move a unit test charge against the direction of the component of the field, work would have been done. But this is a contradiction to the definition of equipotential surface. There is no potential difference between any 2 points on the surface. Hence, no work is required to move a test charge on this surface. So this is an important question they will ask. There is no work that needs to be done a charge on an equipotential surface. Why? Because the potential of every point is going to be the same. And that is the reason why the electric field must therefore be normal to the equipotential surface at every point. So equipotential surface offer an alternative visual picture in addition to the picture of electric field lines around the charge configuration. So this is another important point. There is a reason why you are studying about this. Okay. Am I clear with this?
Yes.
I hope you guys
Yes.
made a note of this point. This is very, very important. Right? Next. This is the next important relation. This is the concept based on which the capacitance is running. Okay, just a minute. Okay. So relation between electric field and potential, write down the heading. Relation between electric field and potential. So there is, as I told you, there are certain reasons why you're studying these things. See, whenever you talk about a charge distribution, no, what are all the important parameters you can talk about? You can talk about the electric field, the way the electric field is spread out, and you can speak about the way the equipotential surface is present, right? See, till now what we did is we learned it like this. I asked you a question like, how is the electric field due to an isolated positive charge or an isolated negative charge? How is the electric field due to a dipole? How is the electric field due to a system of like charges? Now, if I put a question in the reverse way, if I give you the shape of the electric field, if I give you the way the electric field is already present in the space, will you be able to decide what kind of charge is present?
Yes, sir.
You will be able to do it. No? And I'm talking about the reverse analysis, right? If something is like this, what are you going to say? At the center, there is
positive
an
charge.
isolated positive. To give you another system like this, you will say it is uniform electric field. But my interest is, I know it is uniform electric field. Tell me, when is it possible? For what kind of a charge distribution it is possible? When one charge is at plus infinity, minus infinity, and the other is at plus infinity. Or there should be two plate charges present like this. This also I explained. Sigma pi 2 epsilon naught. Right? So if they give you the electric field, then you have a basic knowledge of identifying what kind of a charge distribution will be able to create this kind of an electric field, right? In a similar way, if I give you the shape of an equipotential surface, you will have a clarity on what kind of a charge distribution will be able to generate the equipotential. That is the reason why you are learning both these concepts. Okay, now comes an important point. The most important point is, you know about equipotential surface, you know about electric field. Is there a concept that can relate both so that my job will become easy? And that concept is what is the relation between the field and potential. Okay, it's a very simple derivation. Concentrate, guys. It's a very, very simple derivation. Okay, shall I start?
Yes, sir.
Now see, I'm talking about a surface. See, let's say there is a charge distribution here. I don't know. Let's say there is a positive charge present here. So due to the positive charge present here, at some distance from it, there will be a spherical equipotential surface accepted. So a part of the spherical equipotential surface will look something like this. Accepted.
Yes, sir.
Right? Similarly, if I have another surface exactly parallel to this, So this is one of the concentric spheres. I have another concentric sphere. On this concentric sphere, I will be taking a small sheet. Okay, that is another equipotential surface. Guys, are you able to understand? So simple concept here is, if I take the equipotential surface close to the charge, I am just doing a reverse operation of what is already there in the book. Okay, so if I take an equipotential which is close to this charge, then that will have a potential of V. Then if I take another equipotential surface slightly above this, slightly, okay, it is varying by a factor of delta, slightly above this, then which surface will have lesser potential? Logically tell me. Which surface will have lesser potential?
Just closer.
Closer to.
The one which is closer to the charge will have higher potential, because potential is inversely proportional to distance. That's why I told don't look at the textbook. The one which is away from the charge will have a greater potential, lesser potential. So what changes I'm doing here is, instead of V plus delta V, I will say this is V minus delta V. Are you able to understand? Don't look at the textbook at all. Okay?
No, sir.
Now see. What no? You didn't understand, huh?
Purila,
So what is the equation V minus delta V, sir?
It is slightly less than that. Listen. I'm explaining from the textbook because you are expected to write like this, but there is an alternate derivation also for this. Listen, if there is a positive charge here, you tell me this thing, that there is a positive charge here, I have a point P here, I have a point Q here. Which point is going to have more potential?
Point P will have more potential.
Because it is closer to the charge, logically. Right? So across point P, through point P, there will be one equipotential surface. Through point Q also there will be an equipotential surface. Right? So if I take them like this, and if I turn them in this way, then you will get this diagram. So this is point, this is, instead of P there is A, instead of Q there is B. So if the potential on the first equipotential surface is V, then what will be the potential on the second equipotential surface? Is it not going to be V minus delta V? Delta V means there is a slight change in the value. So compared to, so if this is 5 volt, the first one is 5 volt, the second one will be 4.8 volt. That 4.8 can be written as 5 minus 0.2. That 5 is this V, delta V is 0.2. That is the meaning. Okay. Now what I am doing is, I have a test charge Q, which I am trying to move from, listen to this carefully, which I am trying to move from one equipotential surface to another along the direction of electric field. So due to this positive charge, what is the direction of electric field?
upwards.
Due to the, so it is upward, right? That is this E. Now I have a charge Q which I am trying to move. The sensor, I am having a sensor which I am moving from a point on the equipotential surface A to another point on the equipotential surface B. Exactly along what direction? Along the direction of the so-called electric field. Okay. Now tell me one thing. What is the force experienced by the charge Q due to the electric field?
Will be QE, right?
Q into E. Accepted? The next question is, if the distance between the equipotential surfaces is delta L, the distance between them is delta L, okay, what is the work done by the electric field. So what is the formula for work done by electric field? It is Q into,
It'll be QE
that is
into L.
force into displacement cos theta. Yeah. QE into delta L into how much is the angle between them? It is cos
0 degree.
degrees. So it is going to be QE into delta L. This is according to mechanics, because I use Fs cos theta. But according to electrostatics, work done by the electric field is how much? Work done by
Charge
the
and
electric
potential difference.
charge, that is Q into, can I write it as delta V? That is a change in potential difference, or Q into VB minus VA. Accepted? So Q is Q only. VB is how much? V minus delta V minus how much is VA? That is V. So V and V will get cancelled, which implies this will be minus Q into delta V. Let this be equation number 2. Guys, are you able to understand this? So this is up to electrostatics. Right? From 1 and 2, what can I write? QE, wait. QE into delta L will be equal to minus Q into delta V. So Q and Q will get cancelled, which implies electric field is equal to minus delta V divided by delta L. So what I'm trying to say here is electric field is equal to the negative is equal to the negative of potential gradient. Okay, this delta V by delta L is what is called as potential gradient. Okay, so what gradient is another name for slope, if you guys don't know this. Mathematically, you would have learned something called as slope in your straight lines chapter. The other name for slope is gradient. Okay, so in physics, there are two ways of defining something. If I write dV by dt, what is this, guys? Where V stands for velocity. This is rate of, you're saying rate of change of velocity, no? So you use the word rate when the denominator is time. For example, had it been dV by dx, then you will call this as velocity
with respect to the distance.
With respect to distance, no, you will actually call it as velocity gradient. So any parameter changing with respect to distance is given a name called as gradient. Like how you give rate for time, you give gradient for distance. And what gradient is it going to be? Whatever is in the numerator, that numerator's gradient. In this case, what is happening? V is changing with respect to L. So that is the reason why it is called as potential gradient. If suppose something is like this, dA by dx, then what is this? Where A stands for acceleration.
Acceleration.
Gradient.
We'll call it as acceleration gradient. That's it. Had it been dA by dt, then what is this called? Tell me now.
After you finish
Tell me.
Rate of change of acceleration.
This rate of change of acceleration. Okay, you use the word rate. Anyway, this is not needed. The technical name for this is jerk. For example, your lift will hit the surface. When you land, no, it will hit the surface and you'll feel a jerk, right? That is nothing but rate of change of acceleration. Yeah, Surya, tell me.
Sir, can we come back to the book, sir? The book diagram.
In the same page? This one?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sir, in this diagram, the positive charge is still at the bottom, sir.
Yes, positive is the source charge.
Yes, sir. The source charge is still at the bottom, sir.
Yeah, source charge is not disturbed. Due to the source charge only, these two equipotential surfaces are existing.
Sir, how is it given V plus delta V, sir? It's still V plus V minus delta V only, no, sir.
They're in textbook, huh?
Yes, sir. It's given V plus delta V.
They didn't mention what kind of a charge it is. They didn't mention anything.
Okay, sir.
Okay, that is the reason they gave it. It's not their mistake also. But I'm trying to correct it because I am taking with an example.
Okay, sir.
So it is called
Sir,
negative
one
of
minute, could you
potential
go on?
gradient. Here, sure. Till here?
Yes, sir.
Hmm.
A bit.
Now, no?
Yes, sir, a bit.
Sir,
Okay. Tell me, doctor. Tell me.
sir, if we take the work done at point P, then will it be positive, sir? That the change in value, sir. Will it be V plus del V, sir? If you take the work done at point P according to your diagram, sir.
Okay. You cannot take it as V plus del V at all because I gave you the logic. No, why I wrote it as minus. I gave you the logic for it. I didn't take it randomly. I told as you move away from the source charge, the potential is going to decrease. So if the potential of the surface A is V, then the potential of surface B should be less than that only. It is not possible for you to have a positive value. That is what I mentioned.
Okay, sir. Yes, sir.
Sir, wait, sir. Wait.
Yeah. This page?
No, sir. I was the first experience where it's on.
You're still copying from the beginning, Ada. Can you just take a screenshot? Can you just take a screenshot? You can copy it later. Yeah. Shall I move down?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, take a screenshot of this.
Sir, wait, sir. Wait.
Okay. Yeah, take it.
Thanks, sir.
Okay. Here, the negative sign has an indication. Anybody? Negative sign indicates that electric field is always in the direction of decreasing potential. Okay, so this is an important point. Make a note of this. So there are two important things we have learned today. One is the electric field is always perpendicular to the equipotential surface. Secondly, the direction of electric field is always in the direction of decreasing potential. Okay, it's very simple to understand. If I have a positive charge here, if I have a point P here, I have point Q here. Okay, so potential at point P is going to be Q divided by 4 pi epsilon naught R1, and potential at point Q will be Q divided by 4 pi epsilon naught R2. Correct? So this is R1 and this is R2. Okay, so Vp is greater than Vq. So what is the direction of decreasing potential? As you move from P to Q, the potential is decreasing. So that will be the direction of electric field. That is what they are trying to say. And we know the fact that the electric field due to a positive charge is always away from it. All the conditions are satisfying. That's what happens. Everyone understand? So based on this concept, you are going to do a very important problem. Concentrate this. Okay. So the conclusion that I am giving you here is, please make a note of this. Electric field can either be written as minus delta V divided by delta L. Some books give it as minus delta V divided by delta. Both are delta only. Okay. And some books give it as minus dV divided by dr. Okay. So you will be introducing the minus sign only when you need to say that the electric field is in the direction of decreasing potential. But if you have already drawn the direction of electric field, then you can take the magnitude alone. If you already know the direction of electric field, then you need not introduce a minus sign in that problem. That is what I am trying to say. Okay. So shall I move on? Shall I go to a problem? There is a very important problem that we need to discuss.
Okay, sir.
So, yes, it is in page number 59, example 2.3. So the question is like this. Figure 2.8, A and B show the electric field lines due to a positive and a negative charge respectively. Okay. Now our work is to give the sign of the potential difference between point P and Q. You guys tell me. That is, they are asking what is Vp minus Vq? Is it positive or negative? They don't want the value. You guys tell me, no, from the concept just we saw.
Positive.
Electric field is always in the direction of decreasing potential. So when I say decreasing potential, this is the direction of electric field. So Vp is greater than Vq, this is positive. Similarly, what is the potential difference between Vb and Va? You need to look at this diagram.
Negative.
The electric field is in this direction. Right?
Positive, sir.
Still positive. Why? Because Vb is greater than Va. Here I know what point you will think. Point A is closer than point B. But remember, when you're writing the formula for potential, you will write the minus sign. -5 is less than -4. Don't forget this. Okay. Similarly, next one. Give the sign of potential energy difference of a small negative charge. Underline this word. They have a small negative charge which is moved between the points Q and P. Okay. So there is a negative charge which is moved from point Q to point P. So potential energy at point Q is how much? Is it not minus QV, Q into VQ? So what is going to be the potential energy, absolute potential energy at point P? It is minus Q into Vp. So what are they asking now? Give the sign of the potential energy difference of small negative charge moved between the points Q and P. So UQ minus UP is how much?
Will be positive, sir.
Yes. UQ minus UP will be minus Q into VQ minus VP. Correct? But VQ minus VP is how much? Is it positive or negative? VP minus VQ is positive. So VQ minus VP will be negative. So minus Q into negative value will give you a positive value. Similarly, I'll give you 1 minute time. Can you guys find out what will be the potential energy difference when negative charge is moved from A to B? Do it fast and tell me.
Negative, sir.
Wrong. Why is it negative?
Calculating from UB to UA.
UA to UB. They are asking what is the difference, no, energy difference between A and B. UA minus UB is what is asked.
Okay, sir.
So UA minus UB will be Q into VA minus VB. Wait, I'll write it in a separate page. This is a negative charge. The electric field is in this direction. This is point A. This is point B. Negative charge is moved from A to B. So UA minus UB will be equal to minus Q into VA minus VB. But what is VA minus VB? That is also negative, no? Mithun. Careful. Yeah, that is also negative. So in both the cases, it is a positive value. Anyone with a doubt? Okay. Next, what are they asking? Give the sign of work done by the field in moving a small positive charge from Q to P. So I have a positive charge. I have a positive charge here. And what is the work done? What is the sign of the work done by the field to move a charge from Q to P? Obvious. So what is the force experienced? Q into E. Right?
Yes, sir.
So force is in this direction, displacement is in this direction. What would you say?
Minus.
Negative. In moving a small work has to be done by small external agency, therefore the work done by the field is negative. So you need not write the exact statement what they have given in the textbook. If you understood the logic, you can also say that since the force and displacement are opposite to each other, the work done by the field is negative. Accepted. Okay. Fourth one. Give the sign of the work done by the external agency in moving a small negative charge from B to A. So I have a negative charge here. So you should always be very careful with the question. Okay, negative charge is moved from where to where? It is moved from B to A. Okay. So what is
Negative only. Sir, but it's like charges, sir. Force
Okay.
in opposite direction, sir. Displacement and force.
See, that is where you are getting confused. Because
Electric field.
See, the question can be of two types. Whenever you talk about work done, or wherever you see work done, not only in your 11th or 12th, wherever you see work done, the question should be specific about which force. For example, if I did the previous question, if they had asked what is the work done by the external agent, in this case, the answer would have been positive. Answer would have been negative. Whereas in this case, what is happening? The electric field will try to push the particle away. Because what kind of a charge you have? You have a test charge which is negative. In this question they have mentioned. So it's a negative test charge. So due to the already existing negative source charge, the negative test charge will experience a repulsive force. And the repulsive force is of magnitude Q into E. And this is the repulsive force offered by, listen to my question carefully. This is a repulsive force offered by the electric field or the external agency.
Electric field.
Electric field, no? But remember, this is the direction in which the displacement is. They've expected the particle to move from B to A. So what should be the direction in which the external force should be applied? Should it be towards the source negative charge, or should it be away from the negative charge?
Towards the charge.
Towards the charge.
Now, external force and displacement, they are in which direction?
Same direction.
So positive?
Sir.
Correct? Huh? Yeah. Does the kinetic energy of a small negative charge increase or decrease in going from B to A?
Diagram. The potential only increases, sir.
They're asking, so this is a tricky question actually. Okay, listen to this carefully. I have to explain what is work energy theorem. I think I've already told this once. So the work energy theorem states work done is equal to change in kinetic energy. Okay, here I'm talking about the work done by the system. So here system means electric field. So QE is in this direction. Displacement is in the opposite direction. You're able to understand? QE will be in this direction. The negative charge will experience a repulsive force in this direction. And displacement is taking place in the opposite direction. Right? So QE into S into cos of 180 degrees is equal to change in potential energy. Accepted, guys? So cos 180 is -1. So minus QE into S is equal to delta KE. Now tell me, all these are positive values. So what is going to be the value of change in kinetic energy? It is negative. When I say change in kinetic energy is negative, then the kinetic energy has decreased. Okay. So the reason why I told it is very important is it involves a lot of concepts. Is everyone clear with what I did? I hope you guys made a note of all the important points explained. So I didn't solve the problem using V is inversely proportional to R, nothing. I solved using the concept of potential gradient. Okay, be very careful about this problem, these kind of problems.
So I have a doubt at the last question.
Tell me.
The
Tell me.
Q we are using there is negative, right?
I took the magnitude. I told you, no. Whenever you're dealing with vectors, if you know the direction, then you can ignore the sign.
Yes, sir. No, I got it. Yes, sir.
I wrote QE as magnitude because I drew it with an arrow mark. Observe this. That is the reason. But it's a good question. Yeah. Anything else? Right? So today's concepts are very, very important for you to understand the subsequent concepts. I suggest you all to revise it again. Okay. So what were the concepts we discussed? One, we discussed about equipotential surface. Second is the relation between the electric field and the potential. Then we did a problem based on it. Right?
Yes, sir.
So next class, what will be our topic of discussion is, wait, the class is not yet over. Next class, we will be discussing about the capacitors. Okay, we'll go to the device directly. But before that, before winding up the session, we will do this problem also. So this is a problem which is based on finding the points where the potential will be zero. So listen to this carefully. Two charges, 3 into 10 power minus 8 coulomb and minus 2 into 10 power minus 8 coulomb are located 15 centimeter apart. Okay. At what point on the line joining the two charges is the electric potential zero? Take the potential at infinity to be zero. Okay. So what they are asking is, let me explain the logic behind this question. Problem is simple, but you need to visualize what exactly happens. So two charges are located 15 centimeter apart at what? So 3 into 10 power minus 8 coulomb and minus 2 into 10 power minus 8 coulomb, they are located 15 centimeter apart, correct? Yes. So if I take this as A and this as B, on the line joining these 2 points, you need to find a particular location where the total potential of the system is zero. Right? See, look at the logic. I will define one point here. I will define another point here, and I define a third point here. Okay. The first point you need to understand is, before even you start solving this question, if these kind of questions come where they are asking the total potential to be zero, that is possible only for a system of unlike charges. Had the question been plus 2 into 10 power minus 8 and they're asking to find the point where the potential is zero, blindly you can say there is no point. Logic is very simple, because when will the total potential become zero? Only when you have a plus sign and a minus sign, both should have equal values. When both the charges are positive or both the charges are negative, you're not going to have anything. So that is the first logic. That is why the question is correct. Okay. Secondly, if I take this distance as R1, okay, then this distance will be, 15 plus R1. Okay. Suppose I take this distance as R2, then this distance will be 15 minus R2. If I take this distance as R3, then this distance will be 15 minus R3. Okay, there are 3 different distances that you're going to get. Okay, So what is going to be the potential at point 1 that we need to calculate? So how to calculate it? Take this as the first charge. So that is going to be the total potential at A plus the total potential due to the charge at B. So what is the potential due to the charge at A? It is 3 into 10 power minus 8 divided by 4 pi epsilon naught into, what is the distance, guys? From 3 into 10 power minus 8 to the first point.
R1.
R1. Plus, what is the potential due to the second charge? It is minus 2 into 10 power minus 8 divided by 4 pi epsilon naught into
15 plus
15
R1.
plus R1.
15 plus R1. This should be how much? This should be equal to 0. Okay. Similarly, at point 2, I'm only going to frame the equation. Calculation you people are going to do.
Sir,
VA
why is
plus
it
V.
zero, sir?
So that's what the question says. No?
Okay, sir.
At point 2, VA is how much? 3 into 10 power minus 8 divided by 4 pi epsilon naught into R2. R2. From the second charge, it is at a distance of 15 minus R2 plus minus 2 into 10 power minus 8 divided by 4 pi epsilon naught into 15 minus R2. This should be equal to 0. Here, similarly, at point 3, what is going to happen? VA plus VB, that is 3 into 10 power minus 8 divided by 4 pi epsilon naught into R3 plus minus 2 into 10 power minus 8 divided by 4 pi epsilon naught into 15 minus R3 should be equal to 0. So what I want you people to do is, calculate the value of R1, R2 and R3 and tell me by tomorrow's class. Okay. So out of all the 3 values, there will only be 2 values which are valid. The other one will be invalid. I hope you guys made a note of those the point.
Okay.
If you want to take a screenshot of this diagram, so take a screenshot of this and take a screenshot of this also. So clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So that's it from my side. So tomorrow we'll discuss about the properties of conductor and capacitors. So 2 more classes, this chapter will be over. Okay. So I'll see you.
Thank you, sir.